Welcome, Chris. Fun to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this, and I've been kind of using this podcast as an excuse to just catch up with friends. So it works out well.
Love it.
So why don't we just get started with a quick introduction? Who is Chris? What are you about? What are you doing in this world? And start there.
Wow. Very deep. Let's do it. Well, I'm a software engineer, a dad, and I'm a businessman, not always in that order. Um, so I don't know if that says a little bit about me, but definitely if I had to define myself as something, I would say I'm a dad, I'm a software engineer, and I'm a businessman.
Do you think you had that identity and then you became it? Do you think you have to have the idea of yourself being those things before you become them? Or did you kind of naturally discover them and lean into them over time?
That's a great question. I think that the ego is the one that claims that it's a businessman. The software engineer, I think, is more like my passion. I think that the passion has, if I had to label, I like to build stuff. And most of the stuff that I build across the year has been through some sort of technology, mostly typing, coding myself. So I guess that uh, history and passion has put it at that label. Uh, Ego definitely was the one that put the businessman because at some point I figured out a way to make money out of that passion. So they told me that I was running a company. So that's how you call someone that run a company or someone that does business, a businessman. And definitely the dad part was something that I'm learning as I go. I don't think that I fully uh, gain that title. I think that my kids are the ones that are going to tell me later on if uh, I actually have the greatness to call them myself.
Well, I'm sure based on what I've seen with you holding them while doing phone calls and typing away, I think you're a pretty good dad.
Thank you, brother.
So I like that you talked about ego and specifically kind of the ego driving becoming a businessman or labeling yourself that way. Maybe define what do you mean by that? Because ego is a word that's thrown about. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So in that context, what do you mean when you use the word ego?
Well, let's see. To me, ego is that inner voice that you always try to shut up. It always gets you to live in the future and worry about things that haven't happened yet, right? Um, and it's also that inner voice that always love to claim stuff or to define stuff, maybe label them because it's a way that we humans get to understand the world better. Um, to me, it's a series of those stuff, but mostly is that inner voice that just try to uh, always shape up things and usually have a interest behind that is not always the truth, right? Um, Being a businessman mostly is about like especially nowadays in this culture, is about writing stuff, making shit, right? And there's no an archetype of what is running a business, and you know this firsthand. You're a very successful businessman, and you inspire me a lot in all the things that you do because you run things from the humility and you always try to run through businesses as relationship. And like the name of this podcast, right? It's the long game. It's like an infinite game. There's never one end. And I think that the ego is that thing that always try to see this as a finite game. So to me, it's this um, little uh, devil that step on the shoulder that always try to tell you uh, how the movie's gonna end, and always try to rush you and create anxiety. When in reality, the real world has nothing to do with that, and it's everything is an infinite game.
That is a wonderful answer. And very descriptive too. I mean, I can visualize the little ego, pushing and nudging and demanding attention. And I do think that, a lot of that resonates with me as well, of having some amount of me which is demanding attention, recognition, and being seen in the present rather than thinking about the long game, right? Thinking about the bigger picture, thinking about doing and being on the journey and the path that you want to be on, independent of some final ultimate destination and end goal. My question for you is it necessary to have an ego? And is it an advantage and disadvantage, or is it only something that should be squashed and worked through, and you should divorce yourself of it?
Hmm. How I don't even know if it is possible to not have an ego, right? Like I think that the greatest men I seen them being able to shut it down to a point where this little creature is almost mute, right? That's the best I've seen. But I do feel like considering or my my theory is that you cannot completely get rid of it, but you can tame it. And to me, it's very important to recognize it. So I think as long as you see it there, as long as you know that you are talking from the ego, or as long as you can clearly picture who is driving, who is in the driving seat at that time of the conversation, and you can have some mindful time during the day to just rewind and know who actually was doing the talking. I think you're fine. I don't really think that you are able to completely discregate it out of the self, to be honest. But but I don't know anything.
Do you think you need it?
I think that I personally need it. Uh, I think that because of my upbringing, I grew up in Uruguay, which is a small country in South America of the size of Missouri. Um, Only 3 million people. I grew up in the hood, like you guys in the States has, right? I grew up in the hood in a low class family. So to me, I think that the idea of having this ego pushing me to do better, or pushing me to try to get out of whatever the situation I was, I think it was a great survival mechanism for most of my upbringing. So I definitely think that you can use that in your advantage, kind of like a judo move where you can use that the force um, in your advantage. Um, but I also recognize at some points, especially when it comes to relationships, I do think that it creates more damages than actually that 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 good things. So I do think there's a moment and time to use ego, and maybe at that point, maybe you are not even able to articulate it. In my case, I was young when I started my company. I was 23 years old. I was reckless, and I was very, very unaware of all the hustling that I needed to do. But I think that the ego in that time was a good ally for me to just put myself on autopilot and do things. Um, and but when it comes to relationship, and when it comes to oneself, because you definitely have a relationship with yourself. When it comes to relationships, ego is something that you need to definitely keep under control.
I think that makes sense to me. I One of the things that you touched on that I think about a lot and I don't have a fully formed opinion is the nature of adversity and entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
And so specifically, most entrepreneurs that I am aware of, and maybe I have a bias of looking for people that are of a similar background, but most entrepreneurs that I am aware of come from adversity. They have some dark background, or they were poor growing up, or they just had a chip on their shoulder, or a difficult parent that they were trying to prove wrong. But I do think that there's a relationship between a hard life and then a desire, an ego driving you to prove something to someone. Maybe it's out of fear, maybe it's out of pain, maybe it's out of avoidance, but this desire to create a different life for yourself and escape or grow through, whatever you want to call it, from your dark past. And so, my
100%.
question for you is, you are a dad now, and I am not a dad, but I would assume as a father, one of your focuses is to create a wonderful life for your children. Where does adversity come into play if you are trying to create a wonderful life for children? Do you help them avoid pain? Do you seek pain for them? Do you toe the line between the two? How do you balance that?
That's that's a really hard question to answer, and I think about it all the time. By the way, sometimes you through an action you create a complete opposite reaction, right? Like sometimes you want to cuddle them too much, and because you went through stuff growing up, and you create someone that maybe doesn't have the thick skin that will allow them to survive out there. And I follow. There's one author that I really like is Jordan Peterson. I'm sure you're familiar. Who says like adversity is a good thing as long as it's under control. Right? It's always good to not feel entirely comfortable. It's always good to. It's a very complex and subtle balance between something challenging enough for you to keep engaged and get better, but also not to the point where it's unbearable and you get completely frustrated and you quit, right? So where do you like draw that line? Is one of the hardest things to define. I think, especially for your kids, because there are tools. There are kids now, but you are basically just even like small humans that you're responsible for a small period of time in their lifespan, and then they are out there in the society, and they need to be functional members of the society, and they need to have a toolbox that allows them to move through life, hopefully many years after you're gone. So in a big part, there's if you open up the toolbox, you will have things like negotiation, like tolerance for pain, discipline, but you also have things like being a loving human being and empathetic, and there's this threshold of thinking the best out of people, but at the same time, don't be a fool, right? And it's a very fine tuning that you need to do there.
Be trusting, but don't be naive.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And there are some things that you can just not. First off, let's start by you have no control whatsoever on anything, right? Life is chaos, but also life is perfect, because everything that happens is like there's no other way to do it, right? So that's at least that's how I live my life. Um, to me, life is perfect. I'm not saying it's everything has been um, like bottom 100, but definitely everything that happened for a reason, and I got better out of it if I'm still here, right? So I try to consider that when I think of them, or when I think of anything, or any loving uh, person that I care, right? There's there's definitely the responsibility on our behalf to do the best that we can to our abilities, but also the there's must be a clear understanding that no matter what you do, there are things that are outside your control.
And so as it relates to parenting, do you shield your children or do you
Well, they're
push
only
them
2 months
into
old.
traffic? Yeah,
They're only 2 months old. I would like to. I'll push them into traffic, but with training wheels, right?
I like it.
Like I'll definitely push them out there, but I hook the harness first to make
Yeah,
sure that they will be safe.
I like it. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, self-made man, and you're from South America, and you've been doing business in the States for quite some time. What is that like? Is that an advantage? Is that a disadvantage? And part of the reason I ask is because we all know our own worlds and we see everything through our own lens, even if we try to have different perspectives. So, I am a white male born into the United States of America. So, whatever background I've gone through, I always have that status in the world. So, coming from a different perspective, what has your experience been with entrepreneurship in entering into the United States? Have you been able to use it as an advantage, a disadvantage? And also, what advice would you have for other people who might want to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I I always consider myself like the US is like a second home to me. I always consider myself very American in a lot of ways that I live. My lifestyle is very similar to your lifestyle. Even my shirt, right?
You look
but
great, very stylish. I like you. I like it.
right back at you, buddy. Um, no, I definitely will say that um, there's some there's some cultural barriers that you need to cross, but there's also something that I've been working with the US probably almost 15 years now. It's more the time that I've been working for and in the US than locally. So it will be, I won't, I won't really be the most capable man to tell you to distinguish the differences between both cultures because my professional life is in the US. I always work
But
that
what
way.
was it about the US that, like, attracted you or I mean, obviously, we all have our perspective of the US culture. Every American thinks they're the center of the world, and in some ways, from a culture perspective or, technology and innovation, one could argue that the US is very much a leader in a lot of areas. So, is that something that you reflect on and you think, "This made a lot of sense for me," and kind of being a smaller fish in a bigger pond made a lot of sense? Or do you think, maybe I should have stayed on the local market longer and invested more here and kind of built up myself to be a bigger fish in my own native world and maybe smaller pond?
Well, to me definitely the sooner that I could get in that market, the better, because it's just a numbers game. UA is only 3.5 million people, and when I started, I started in New York, which is 8 million people, right? Only in the island. So definitely the numbers way makes way more sense. And because there's also a technology hub, there's a chance to get better at your craft. Um, Internet have made things easier for everyone, especially in our field. But maybe something that is unique in our industry is that the cake is big enough for everyone, right? There's enough for everyone. We can all share. It's very rare to compete in the sense that people will just not hold their cards against their chest. There, I started very, very young as a
And what
software
is your
engineer.
industry? Just for others to know. You mean software in general or?
Software engineering, yeah,
Yeah.
software engineering, IT, right? When I started coding, I was 14 years old, and most of the uh, documents, manuals, and courses that I could get my hands on were in English. So right there, I needed to get in contact with the U.S. culture. I needed to get in contact with the English language. I needed to learn English uh, good enough for me to being able to communicate and ask questions in forums or maybe being able to understand a simple exercise in a chapter of a book and replicate it. So I think that was the first step that got me closer to the U.S. culture. Just in order for me to be self-taught, I needed to just speak the language first. Then it's clear that the U.S. always has been a leader in terms of innovation, and also in terms of the culture and the different groups that are propelling the software industry. Uh, the, the homebrew computer group started in California for a reason, right? Apple started there for a reason. So to me, very early in my teenage years, I started to get in contact with colleagues in the US and try to expand my network. At some point, when I started my own company, I knew that there was the market that I needed to go was the US. So I started to plan kind of like doing reverse engineering of, okay, I'm here, I'm 6,000 miles away. How can I start working there? And the first thing that I did was just like I took a plane. I spent all my savings, and I were lucky enough to crash in a friend's house for a month, um, and I learned the differences and the subtleties to work near shore, to work in a way that seems that I'm working in the U.S. Uh, from the time overlapping to the quality of the work, the fluency in the communication, but at the same time, being in Uruguay allow me to have more competitive prices. So um, I'll say that what actually pushed me to go there was the curiosity, being able to try to be the best software engineer I could, and also the potential of the market, knowing that I could actually make bigger, better things working in the US.
Would you recommend that same path for other people in smaller countries that you target maybe a larger market, whether it's Europe or the US or maybe, I don't know, China or Japan or something, and try to follow that path? Do you think that's the most effective way for an entrepreneur to build a business? Or do you think that maybe there's a different path that's better?
Well, I think it's very personal for everyone. When it comes to an entrepreneurship and trying to build a business, I think that is key to sell something that people want, right? I think that's key. Y- You have better chances to do that in a bigger market, but you also got to do it in a market you feel comfortable with. I felt very comfortable in the US. Like I live a very American life down here. I go to the States 3, 4 times a year. Most of my friends are Americans. Um, so to me, it was a no brainer because it was like just home, uh, far from home. But I wouldn't just take into consideration the niche market or the numbers. I will also take into consideration how comfortable you feel, because um, China is a bigger market in terms of numbers. Also Russia, but I don't know anything about those countries, right? I won't blend in. I won't fit. So I will really say that whoever want to work or start their own thing, they need to take into consideration that they have something that uh, they can actually sell. Because especially in technology, we don't really focus too much about the selling part. We just want to focus on building stuff, and that's fun. That's super fun. But if you build stuff and no one buy that, like you cannot make a living out of that. So that's the first thing that you need to recognize, if you have something that people actually want, and then have enough people that you can make a living out of that.
I really like what you said because I think it's very true, especially for builders, whether that's a software engineer or other type of builder, which is you need to be able to build something, yes, but then you also need to be able to create value and sell that. And
Yes.
I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, or rather builders that want to become entrepreneurs, are really good at building. They're really good at making things. But you need to have that ability and then couple it with finding people and selling to them and operating the business. And so that is just one piece. That is a very visible piece of building a company, but it is just one piece. And I think that often that's lost or forgotten. So I really appreciate you kind of emphasizing that. You as a builder, how has it been to continue to build companies and build software? And I think you told me recently that, on a day-to-day basis, you're running the business more than you are writing code, which makes
Yeah.
sense because as the company scales, that happens. How is that for you who resonated so deeply with building and being a software engineer, and you still are, but your day to day is probably less of that than it used to be. Is this still like a good path? Is it just a necessary evil? What's your perspective on that?
Well, going back to the conversation about the ego, right? The ego wants to be a software engineer and want to be plunking on that keyboard every day, every time. So it took definitely a process for me to dissociate from the software engineer, uh, and and also recognizing that there's a moment in time in your company to offer that as your value, as your skills. But I want my company. If I'm the better software engineer in my company, we're screwed, right? Like I don't want to be the best software engineer in my company. I want the company to provide the best software it can provide, and that maybe necessarily means for me to step aside and do something that um, needs to be done more than is fun to do, right? Like leadership. I want, and leadership is such a buzzword right now because especially in LinkedIn and some other places, like it's hard to describe. But to me, leadership is about to doing what is necessary to get done for everyone be better, right? And trying to maximize the chances of your team to succeed. So it was definitely uh, 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 challenging for me and not fun to step aside and not go anymore because that's my happy place. But it was necessary for the company to evolve and have better engineers to for me to do the things that I need to do, run the business, making sure that the services that we provide generate a value. So yeah, I don't know if that actually answers the question, but that's how it is
That's
for me.
Yeah, I mean I think just speaking from my own perspective too, I think identifying as ego is something that caused me to pause and say, "Oh wow, it really is. It's this identity that I have constructed in my mind that wants to be a builder, wants to be identified as a builder, and wants to do the actual building." And to recognize that often we have these constructs, these ideas, these beliefs that we hold and we don't necessarily even know that they're driving our actions. And for you to recognize that, and then also to consciously recognize, well, what is necessary and helpful for my business? And then make a conscious choice about what do you want to prioritize, the happiness and joy and fulfillment of yourself and your ego and identity, or the business. And I think that that's, it's very accurate. And I have always appreciated your ability to reflect on the decisions you make, why you make them, and to ultimately live a conscious life.
Well, thank you for that, and also in some of the things that you mentioned, you're a builder, you are a software engineer, you're a graphic designer, a product person. Like in the spectrum, you are kind of like this triple threat, right? Like can do everything. Let me ask you, how is for you now? Because you mentioned not build, but you're always a builder. It's in your DNA. Like now you're just building relationships or building other stuff, right? But what is what you miss the most out of those other building facades of yours that maybe you are not applying right now on a daily basis?
Yeah, flipping the podcast script around here. I like it. I would say it's more of a general answer, but when you are an engineer or designer or writing copy, writing a book, whatever it is, when you're doing a task as an individual contributing to something, there is a lot more autonomy that you have. You're not dependent on others as much. You are given your task or you define your own task and then you go and execute and then you see your output as it relates to that task. And I think, especially being creative and a builder, there is nothing quite as gratifying as having something in your head and then being able to take an action with your hands or feet or whatever, but take an action and then see it come to life. And it's not always a perfect thing, and the process is just as fun as the end result. But I miss that, and I still, hack away at things on weekends and after hours and stuff. So I still kind of satisfies that itch. But I think that that is the piece that I will always enjoy immensely. But a concept that I've been playing around with a lot of late as well is the idea of leverage. And there are various ways in which we can get leverage in the world. And again, this is specifically from the entrepreneurship and business perspective. But if you take one action, then that is one task done. But if you have one conversation or you talk to one other person and they're able to do something while you have another conversation, that's a higher leverage activity. And so one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I've always loved building startups. I've always loved building technology. And I've always loved just giving away advice for free and talking about it. But if I can help five other people maybe think through being an entrepreneur abroad and entering the States, or some other aspect about how to leverage AI in their business that they're building, then that can reach more people than just one person. And I don't care if I have 10 people that listen and they get something out of it. If I can help more than one person, then it's a more effective use of my time. It's more higher leverage. And so I'd say that that is one of the trade-offs that you have as you go deeper and deeper in terms of an ability or a skill set. You're able to do higher and higher leverage activities, which removes you from doing the actual underlying work. You're talking more about it than you're doing it. So I'd say that is kind of the trade-off. But for me, if I can have a greater impact on more people than to write code or do some designs or do product management for a specific product, that for me is a worthwhile trade-off.
That's great. It's another way of building.
It is. It is. It is. So I touched on AI. AI is obviously being talked about all the time. What are your thoughts on our future AI overlords, the current opportunities that exist with it? Or do you think it's overhyped and it's a new tool, but it's not necessarily going to fundamentally change how we do business?
Well, um, it depends what we take as AI, right? There's a lot of
So
different
let's define it. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah, there are a lot of different products out there. Um, there's I think that AI has been here for quite some time. It's just that now it came to a point where their uh, linguistics are so good that, and I'm talking way before passing the Turing test, right? Like, which is this test where another human being can identify if he's talking to a machine or a human, right? Um, that's a test that we have passed many years ago. Um, but we were already there in terms of the knowledge and the automation of AI. Now we're at a point where it is incredibly good the way that that AI can summarize content, can articulate it, and can understand just natural language. Um, I use AI on a daily basis. Like, I use ChatGPT, not because I think it is the answer for everything. Actually, it makes a lot of mistakes sometimes because that's a no. It's just like a big repository and of content. But I do use because it's really good at summarizing stuff. or at maybe coming up with the beginning of an idea that I want to kindle later, um, like the answer for an email or a contract that I want to read, and I want to make sure that I'm not overseeing some important information. So I do use AI. I don't think that we need it for everything in our life, and I don't think that AI is going to take over our jobs. I do think though that it's going to be crucial to being able to operate that in the future. Um, but I'm curious. I think at this point, especially now with everything that is coming up, like the Apple, the Vision Pro, and these other gadgets that definitely use a lot of AI to train their models. I'm really looking forward to see how can we use that to basically don't storage in our brain information that we don't need to, right? Um, I'm a big fan of second brain in the methodology of basically just dumping into a digital sort of asset, document, or note information that you don't need to keep in your brain, right? Or storage in your memory. So I use AI also for connecting stuff, for connecting my notes, for extracting information out of a book. So I do think that well used is definitely something that is gonna improve the quality of life of people across the world.
Lots to unpack there. So, firstly, let's go into second brain because I think that that's a concept that not everyone's familiar with. I know you and I have talked about it before, and we swapped notes on our second brains. So,
Yeah.
you mentioned it's having an external system where you can take information in your brain and extract it and put it in a third party tool. And so the simple example is we all have a list of to-dos running in our head, taking them and putting it into a to-do list application. Um, what is your second brain system? How do you determine what to pull out and how do you use it?
Okay. So I basically divide everything in my life into projects or actions, right? Actions are tasks, things that I need to tackle. Projects are more like things that are going to be with me many years. A project could be actually being better at playing piano, or it could be uh, building this um, beach house, right? Um, those are things that take a lot of time and take a lot of different actions. Um, and there are many different tools that you can use to organize. Even could be just a simple piece of paper at the beginning, just to separate, to understand in your life what is a project, what is something that you're going to be running for quite some time. A project could be you being a better husband, right? Like, or you being a better son or daughter. Um, and an action could be, yeah, I need to finish up with the backyard. I need to get down the basement, right? And I will start by trying to identify what are those things in your life, and then I will invest some time more figuring out what is the best software or tool to storage all that. To me, that's Obsidian. That's a tool that you can download. I think it's an open source actually. You can download and you can have some sort of like a Notion panel and just dump information there. The idea is that also needs to be quick. If it takes too many steps, you're not going to do it. This need to be sustainable. It need to be done in a way that aligns with your life and your routine. So, and this is a part where I actually use AI to help me out with that. Um, Something that um, all of us have is a grocery list, right? Like a to-do list or a grocery list. When every time we go to the supermarket, we need to tackle. I'm all over the place. Like you see me on a daily basis, especially with twins, like I'm all over the place. Like everything is chaotic in my life. So I have my Alexa device just hook up with my to-do list. And I just shout out Alexa, just add X, and that's it, right? That will create a item that is X in my shopping list, and that also is synchronized with uh, my second brain management system. So that's
Obsidian.
just an example. Yeah, that's just an example of how you can just say things out loud and forget about them, and not keep in your mind that, oh, I need to run by the grocery store and buy X, right? Like you will just immediately after you step in the supermarket, because you can also use geolocation for on your favor. When you step in your local supermarket, um, a notification will pop out in my cell phone. So I say, oh, I don't need. I if I'm here, I need to remember that I need to tackle this shopping list, just not
So
wandering
first of all, I
around.
mean, I think that's fascinating. So just dive into the specific tech, right? So you mentioned, I'm not going to say its name so it doesn't pop up, but the Alexa. So you have that, and then you have Obsidian, which is an aspect of it. But talk us through all the different Alexa, stop. Oh, I tried. Um, so talk us through all the specific tools that you use because I think people might want to go recreate this for themselves. I mean, having the shopping list that you just speak into the air and then it pops up when you enter in the right location. I mean, that's a pretty great optimization to have, and I'm sure you extend to other areas of your life too.
Yeah, well, I can walk you through that one. Is that one is very easy. There's a couple of tools that I use. Obsidian, uh, definitely Alexa, and Todoist. What I do is there's a routine that you can run on your Alexa that is basically migrating every item in your. You can basically connect your shopping list with a to do list on Todoist. That to do list, you can also separately have a an event that's on Google that depends on location, right? You can also do it with the shortcuts on Apple. You can create a trigger that depends on your location, and that trigger basically will trigger an alarm or a notification when I enter a geofence that I predefine. And this takes some time at the beginning, right? So you might say, like, why would you over engineer this? But I can tell you the satisfaction after you enter the supermarket and you have your to-do list there is
Feel very smug.
priceless. So definitely you can use a geofence to trigger, and when you trigger, that will open your to-do list that you previously synchronized with Alexa, and you talk with your Alexa, so you don't need to write down anything. You don't need to think about anything. You just look at your fridge and shout out what you are missing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. My builder brain immediately goes to, well, what if you add open AI in between that too, so you could shout out the 5 meals you want to make, and
Oh,
then it automatically adds the ingredients necessary for making those dishes and adds all those items directly to your cart too. Or not your cart, but to your list. Yeah.
well,
Anyway, that is
now
fascinating.
we need to do that.
Yeah, right? I'm gonna go build this tonight. Um, I think that's a very helpful tactical example of a second brain system. So rather than you keeping this in your mind, in your brain, you externalize it. And again, with the idea of this is information that I don't really need to spend, even if it's a little bit of my attention, kind of holding that or remembering it or thinking about it. Nope, completely out of Chris's brain. He doesn't need to think about it because your second brain is trustable, is reliable. It's going to give you the information when you need it. And that is, as I understand it, the idea behind a second brain. So expand it beyond just the grocery list, right? So you talked
Yes.
about tools, you talked about Obsidian, you talked about Todoist as your to-do tracker. You talked about events versus or projects, I should say, versus tasks. How do you then apply this to more areas of life? Keep talking through that, please.
Sure. Well, I love reading, and but I don't always have the time to go and read everything that I want to, right? Uh, I use it definitely for my reading list. And what I try to do every time that I read, I try to highlight on my Kindle notes or parts of the book that I really want to keep and I want to share with friends that might also have some interest on that. I synchronize that with my Obsidian, so every note that I highlight on my Kindle shows up also in my second brain, and I have a tag system that I can look out for quotes or for authors or topics that I'm interested in. I use it also for like just there's a lot of different projects like business, right? Like I want to be a better CEO. There's a lot of material out there. There's a lot of courses. How can I just um, gather and group all that information together? Um, and most of the time, it's most of the time you think about it in real life. When you want to know about something, you go out and you ask questions to people that know more than you, right? Um, and the challenging part is not go out and asking because I promise you will find people that is smarter. But the hard part is actually find a way to compile all that information and figure out patterns, make sense of that information. If you talk to five people and they tell you the same thing about one topic, you might want to pay attention. So you want to go to a system like Obsidian where you can actually put that all the information or you can archive all that information. And maybe it won't make sense now, but I can go back and I can look it up later and I can see how my notes and my sources have been changing across time. And that will give me also a good perspective of where I was before in what I was trying to achieve back then. Right.
So
And that part,
talk me
yeah.
through, yeah, talk me through. You said your notes will be changing over time. I've never seen Obsidian. What does this look like? What do you mean by it's changing, and how do you? I think the biggest pushback that I've ever gotten on second brain systems is, well, how the hell do I get information out of it? And it sounds like you're able to kind of observe this over time. So dive deeper. What does that exactly mean? What does this Obsidian tool do for you? How do you see this progression?
So you are used to writing. You love writing, I know. And journaling is a great exercise for shaping up your ideas, right? Um, this is you are the articulator when it comes to shaping those ideas. You write something and maybe you reread it next day, and you can understand your mood. You can understand why you wrote about something, and you can also go go back and read notes from months ago and understand what was in your head back then. What was your concerns, right? Maybe it was work, maybe it was life, maybe it was a mix of both. Um, Imagine you can do that. You can write down, you can have a journal, but also you can put keywords to that journal, right? You can measure, uh, you can have different KPIs like key performance indicators or different metrics that will tell you also like that that allows you to put your mood, right, from a scale from 1 to 5. Or you can also track your habits during that day. So now you have more dimensions to yourself and to your notes. It's not only what you wrote and maybe reminiscing how you felt when you wrote that. It's understanding and dissecting yourself in many other ways. It's understanding if you were maybe not drinking for 3 months when you wrote that down. Maybe you were striking the gym, or maybe you were not going to the gym during that week, right? Maybe you were feeling anxious. Maybe you were worried about financials. Maybe you were worried about a fight you had with a family member, right? And also happens that in your calendar you have a very important meeting, a very important business meeting. So all that start putting together the puzzle. And to me, being able to go back and rewind and see a snapshot of my life back and then gives me a lot of introspective, give me a lot of information Um, and it's very hard to do that by yourself without tools because brain tends to be very biased and tends to uh, retell the story in a way that makes sense now, but not always is the way that the story actually happened. So to me, that's a big part of using a second brain is being able to put together these different pieces and dimensions of one's life in an environment that is is built to do that.
I love it. Yeah, I think that documenting as you go helps you better understand where you've been, not with your own brain, but with an external record or a snapshot over time. Let's move on to Apple. You mentioned it earlier.
Oh,
You talked about
yeah,
the future. You talked about this wonderful world that we're moving towards or whatever it is. What are your thoughts on the new Apple, what's it called? Vision Pro, I think?
the Vision Pro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Let me start with a disclaimer that I'm a huge fan of Apple. My whole ecosystem is Apple, right? So from my watch to my computer, so I might be biased.
Might
That
be.
said, that said, I love the idea of AR on a more uh, work related environment, right? I love the idea of AR of augmented reality um, in an Apple way, in a way where they basically create a whole ecosystem where they can synchronize your work with your pictures, and I love that. Um, I do feel though that this new piece of hardware, which is very impressive by the way, but I do feel like this is going to be like Apple Watch generation one, right? This is going to be for early adopters. I don't think that first off it's super pricey. I don't think that everyone will spend 3,500 on a gadget that is not quite there yet, has been uh, put in the market. So it's definitely for early adopters and for a niche. But it get us one step closer to Harvey's and Iron Man and all these like Minority Report sort of sci-fi movies where you can actually do your technology on 3D, right? Like you can blend it in with your real world. I would love to see how that works with. Um, First off, I would like for them to shrink it down a little bit, right? Like it's right now it's a little bit um, too big, and I think that Google wanted to create something similar. I don't remember the name of the project, Google Glass
Google
or something like
Glass.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they tried to do something very similar to that, right? Maybe it was too early, and as you know, timing in this industry is everything. Um, but I, as a first glance, I love the idea of Apple uh, embarking into this territory, but I do feel like we are not quite there yet. So I'm not gonna buy it.
What do you think so I recently read an article I think about it or watched a YouTube video and someone was talking about it and what they said was spot on, which is Apple is extremely good at not being first to market. Rarely are they first to market, but being the best to market.
Hmm.
And so they enter a market when they're able to deliver the experience that matches with their brand. And I think that that is why they are one of the most valuable companies on the planet. It's because of their ability to wait and wait and wait and wait and then dominate. And
Yeah,
so when they enter a market, that is the time for that market. So it'll be very interesting to see. I agree with you that this first product, the price point makes it prohibitive from a general user. But I think pretty quickly they're going to bring down the price. And I also think people's appetite is going to increase for wanting this experience. And the example that I give is the iPhone came out People laughed at it because it was an extremely saturated market.
Yeah.
BlackBerry, no longer a company, or Research in Motion, I guess is the parent company, but BlackBerry was
We're back to be a
dominant.
fruit.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And all devices were between 30 and $100, I think was kind of the price of a cell phone. Apple came out and it was $600. And it's now probably the most valuable product on the planet. So Apple's ability to increase people's appetite for paying for amazing experiences, amazing hardware, and the integration of hardware and software, they've done it time and time and time and time again where people will pay a premium. It's not just for the brand, but it's for the experience. So I think that yes, the price point needs to come down. 3600 is a tough pill to swallow. But I think if we start getting in the 1500 or $2,000 range, if you can start justifying it and say, this is going to replace my monitor, it's going to replace my two secondary monitors, it's going to
Yeah.
replace my TV, it's not going to replace your phone, but I can use it, instead of my iPad. The stacking capability of having an entire reality that is yours for the making, that is in a good experience that doesn't fatigue you, and we all need to try it out and see if that's true. I think it's going to be a very interesting world, and I think adoption is going to be quite high.
And we've seen it happen before with Tesla too, right? Like Tesla used to be like very expensive cars because they wanted to prove that they could create like fast electric vehicles. Once they were able to get that credibility, then they released the model. I don't remember the name. Model I was or S. That
Original
was
was
like
the Roadster, then the S,
the S,
then
right?
the
Like
X, Y,
a,
and 3. Yeah,
a model that is more affordable for just the regular consumer, right?
yeah.
And I think exactly that's what's going to happen with Apple. Now they are like in the first stage, and it's not going to be long before we see a new model for the SE version of the Vision Pro. And, and like you said, like it's going to definitely, if they're good at something, is changing the paradigm. They change the conversation completely. Back to what you said about the phones, um, there was they removed the keyword out of the conversation. Query keywords was not a thing anymore, right? Like they include the multi-touch, they include a lot of things that now we're used to see it, and it's been a long time now that we have that in our different devices, and by every single vendor, like everyone has their own version of what initially was an iPhone. Um, Definitely, we will see the same with Samsung. We will see the same with Sony, with different
Absolutely.
other companies that will get their own version of Vision Pro. But like you, to me, and this is the biased part because I'm an Apple fan. They are great at changing the paradigm, and they are the excuse for pushing it a little bit further than what we know.
The thing that they've been heralding, and it's been talked about time and time again, but now Apple is saying it, is we're entering in the world of spatial computing. I think that's how they call it. And they're specifically not using the word virtual reality. They're avoiding that for whatever reason. But this new world that we've over the past 10 years, we've had AR and VR devices, and really since the
Sure.
70s, we've had proof of concept. So it's, been shitty technology, but it's obviously now become a lot more sophisticated. What does a world look like? Fast forward 3 years from now, 5 years from now, Apple has launched the Vision Pro 5 SE, right? It's affordable, have them in every single household. The battery life is much longer, 6 hours or something. The headset is smaller, less fatigue. What does that world look like? Are we ultimately headed for the end of Wally, where
Hmm.
300-pound fleshy things in our perfect chairs and a visor that we're always looking through for reality? Is that the new paradigm? What do you think we end up going towards?
That's a great question. Well, I think as definitely as things tends to be more um, these technologies tends to be more embedded in our life. There are also there's always will be a David Goggins
Mm.
for everything that you try to release out there, right? Like there will be someone that will push you to get out there, to go back to the basics, to the Ryan Holidays of like stoic lives, right? Like there will always be those guys. So I think that I there's been this conversation since the beginning of time, since we have computers. Like, oh, we're gonna just now not gonna get out there. We're gonna live anymore. We're gonna get dumber, right? There's that conversation's been here since forever. Uh, I want to see technology as an ally. I believe technology is something that um, extends humans' ability, not actually censorate it or diminish it. So it is still really early to say and to do futurology, but I would like to think that once we have access to this spatial technology, spatial computing, that's going to enhance our real work. But it's up to us it's up to us to create that world that is worth to be living, right? I can imagine, for instance, having piano classes with those lens and being able to enhance and improve my technique, or maybe create better chords, or play different notes, right? Like different music. Um, but I will still need the ones that need to move the fingers and play better. Um, I think that it will be great for GPS, for navigation, for actually make this like these things that we're doing right now, like um, having conversations in a more real way, including more dimensions. Maybe the spatial part of this. Maybe we could have this conversation in our living room, and I can see you across the couch sitting down with your drink, right? Kind of like a Star Wars sort of thing. So I think it's going to improve that, but I'll still need to mix the martini. I'll still need to be a good host, right?
Unless we have
So,
Elon Musk's robots with OpenAI's AI in them, and then the Hololens, or Apple Vision Pro, or whatever is the device du jour.
but
What
I do.
ex? Oh, go ahead.
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic.
Do you have a idea of what the most exciting experience is for you? Is there something that you've always wanted since you're a little kid for immersion? I mean, VR is something that we've been talking about conceptually as a society forever, about virtual experiences. So, is there something that is the most exciting for you that you have been waiting to explore and no one's really done a good job of it? Anything in particular that you're looking forward to?
Well, especially with these kind of gadgets, you mean?
Yes.
Uh, I love traveling, and I would love an experience where I can actually be teletransported to a place, not only in a place, but also in time, right? Like maybe, okay, how great will be if we are able to go to and maybe standing as the rover in Mars and being able to look around and see the hills and feel like a Martian for a second, right? I think that will be amazing if we get to that point. The same where being able to go back to what New York used to look like in the 1800s, or what it was the Great Wall of China, and standing there without actually having to go, right? Or maybe the Louvre in Paris without the queue, without the line to see the Mona Lisa, right? There's a lot of different things, especially that I connect with traveling and the experience of uh, living um, a place. Of course, you don't have the maybe you don't have the aromas, you have the smells, you don't have the crowd, right? Like there are different factors that actually make the experience quite fruitful and better. But I think that we can get pretty close to some of those, especially with the ones that comes like going out into space. You don't need to be a billionaire actually experience the international station, or being able to step on the moon. I I think that that's something that the little Chris inside me will be very happy about.
Well, little Chris will be very happy in probably a couple years once we all start buying Vision Pros.
100%.
What's the most interesting Alex Hormozy concept that you've picked up since you've been turned on to him?
Well, the idea of maybe you don't need to work your arse off to make money, or the idea that there are a lot of principles that we should believe as statement axioms, right? And it's just not like that. You can actually meet with people in I love his idea of progress, right? Like, we now tend to say, no, it was harder before. Back in our days, it was harder to do this. Now the kids got it too easy, right? And he says always, like, that's exactly the point. That's what progress means. Progress means that things will get easier, or it's going to be better. Like, how do
Yeah.
you measure something better? It's actually that is not doesn't take too much, or doesn't take that much to do something. Um, so to me, that's one of the things that he says that resonate a lot with me. Like, I don't get why we complain a lot about, like, oh, it was back in the day, it was harder. That's not a good thing. That's
Yeah.
definitely not a good thing. And if you can make it better and easier for someone else, why you wouldn't do it? Like, what?
Yeah.
There's enough for everyone. There's no secrecy. There are no secrets that you need to take with you, and you also gonna die. So, like, share as much as you can. Try to just help people out, and don't expect anything, because there's there's no point of keeping your cards against your chest
Yeah. Yeah.
in business, in personal life. Like, if I learn something, we were talking with Rich earlier today about parenthood, right? And, like, if there's something that friends of mine can share with me, I want all the information I can get.
Yeah.
I might just then cherry pick different pieces, and have enough understanding of what will work for my life and what not. But I definitely want to hear you out. Like, you definitely have
Yeah.
something to share.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's a good example because, like, from your friends, you'll share advice freely, but then for some reason in the business world, you don't because it's a secret sauce or like, that's just stupid. It's just stupid. It's like, if they're willing to listen and try to apply it, then they're going to do well in their business and you're going to do well in your business. And like, execution still tremendously matters. But if you can help someone skip over one step and make it less painful or do it faster,
Yeah, what
cool.
wouldn't
That's
you do?
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is what pain feels like or something. It's like when you're actually doing the hard thing and you're just grinding through it. It's supposed to feel shitty. You're supposed to feel like shit. That's the
yeah.
whole fucking point. Um, yeah. So
There's
and then
one
just the
quote.
mindset of giving. Yeah. Go ahead.
There's one about pain. There's one quote that I love, is for runners, right? Like, I don't run until it hurts. I run until the pain is gone, right? And
Sounds like David
that's
Goggins.
yeah, kind of like, yeah. Is that relieving of, like, okay, through the suffering, through actually going through the work, and is relieving. So yeah, I connect 100% with that.
Is there a particular idea, thought, concept that you're wrestling with, question maybe, that you've been thinking about, exploring, trying on, that you might want to share with the audience, to kind of just leave us with?
You and I have been endless discussion about how to improve our lives in different dimensions, and we always talk about stoicism, and we always talk about
Stoicism. That's right.
stoicism. We always talk about um, living more in the present. That's something that I'm trying to do, especially now with the kids. I'm trying to live by the memento mori, right? Like, remember, you're gonna die.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, I would love to. Actually, I'm gonna turn it back to you, that question, and I would love to know what you think about how you live your life in terms of those principles, and any tip that maybe you can give me, um, and that maybe will also trigger a response on my end, and we can wrap this up with a very good piece of advice for the audience.
I love it. Memento mori is probably one of my favorite quotes, and I definitely live by that or revisit it frequently. But in terms of something new that I would say that I've been working on, mulling over, thinking about is I've reached a new mindset recently, which is letting go of that which I am not good at. And I think, especially given the chip on my shoulder mindset, right? The fake it to make it, figure it out, teach yourself to program, design, product manage, figure it out, right? Um, I've always had the mindset that I can figure something out. And I have a lot of anecdotal data of me figuring things out. Generally speaking, I can figure my way out through things. But what I've been letting go of late is that ego, probably driven aspect, which says I need to figure it out. That if I don't figure it out, then I am inferior or I am bad. And that's kind of the voice or the script that goes in my head.
Yeah.
But what I've found is the sheer amount of joy and freedom that I've been able to experience by saying, no, I'm not good at this. I don't like doing this. I've tried to learn it. I can kind of do it, but I'm not going to. I need help, and I'm going to ask other people to help me with this thing. When I've been able to actually let go and say, this is an area I'm weak in. I need help. Will you help me? The amount of burden and weight that I can just let go of this grind and hustle and pressure to figure it out and try to get a good result, but then not even enjoy doing it. So I procrastinate doing it. And then when I do it, I push myself through it. It's a lot of, I don't know if suffering is the right word, but it's a lot of hardship for no reason other than my own insecurity or ego or something internal. And I've been letting that go. And it's been a really refreshing kind of renaissance sounds so trite and overplayed, but a new period of my life where I've been able to let that go. And it frees up so much mental bandwidth to focus on things that I really enjoy and that I'm good at. And so that would be my advice is find things that you're not good at that you don't enjoy and ask for help with them and lean more into the things that you are good at and you do enjoy with the intersection of whatever it is you're doing, whether it's work or building a business. So you obviously have to make money while doing these things. You can't just go play every day. But if you can find the alignment of what you're good at and what you enjoy and what you can make money with, and you find that intersection between those three, just go do that and try to delegate or stop doing all the other things that you suck at. Sounds straightforward, but for me,
I,
it's been very
I
helpful.
love that. I love that. And to me, it's okay to suck at things. And it took me a long time to figure it out. It's okay to not be good at something. I think that maybe because we come
And
from
I would say
yeah,
actually, so it's okay to suck at things and it's also okay to give up on things. And I think that
yeah.
give up part was something that I've struggled with a lot.
And I think that that might be, and I don't want to do any assumption, but it might be because your entrepreneurial background, like you do figure it out things for a living for a long time, and and you you at least that's how I feel it. Like sometimes the imposter syndrome start to kick in when you are not able to do it, right? And I think that's very savvy to mention, and being able to say, okay, it's okay to quit things and maximize the time of things that you're good at. Um, I also love the part where you say like ask and ask for help. To me, one of the things that if I had to single out one thing that I I got the most out of in in business, in life, is just getting out there and from a humble perspective and say, hey, I will love your help. I look up to you on this. I really admire what you've been doing here. Um, I can I can just offer you a cup of coffee in my 2 years. Please, like, sit down with me 30 minutes, right? And it's very rare when you approach that to someone, and that's what I say. Like, works in any angle. It works for you want to be a better uh, businessman, a better software engineer, um, better uh, anything, better runner, right? Like, just sit down with someone that you admire or you know that they have done some work there that you look up to, and offer them your most sincerely appreciation and attention. Um, is I do believe intrinsically humans, we want to give more than we want to take, and more often than not, someone will just help you. Uh, um, so I connect a lot with that, and I connect a lot with the part of asking for help, and definitely being able to identify when the ego is talking and just drop things. It's a good thing to drop things. I dropped out college. It was the
Me
best
too.
decision I made professionally. So cheers to that.
Cheers indeed. College dropouts. Chris, thanks for coming on. If people want to find you, connect with you, ask you questions, take you out for a coffee, how should they get in touch with you?
Definitely, they can shoot an email to Christian at e14.io. They can look me up on social networks. I'm most places like Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Um, I'm always looking for a way to connect with more people, expand my network, and learn from each other. So thank you, Elijah. This has been wonderful. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this time.
Thank you, brother. This has been a lot of fun. To be continued.